want to start off talking about why you would ever give assign students an oral presentation. There are three things you could hope to get out of that for the students. One is they'll increase their confidence in public speaking. And that turns out to be a bigger problem than you might imagine, because lots of university students are phobic or nearly phobic, so they'll do anything to not give a public presentation. That's unfortunate for them. If they carry that phobia, that avoidance through their careers, they're going to be very, very limited. They can't run a meeting, they can't teach a class, they can't do lots and lots of things. So I see that, and their fear is real and their avoidance is great, and I'm sure I lose some students for that once they see that's part of the unit. That's unfortunate for them. Other ones are tougher, and they stick with it. So I want to increase their confidence. But even the ones who aren't phobic, they may have low confidence. It's not like you're phobic or you're not. There's a whole, you can see it as normally distributed. So there are all different levels of confidence about public speaking and avoidance also. So I want to increase their their confidence in public speaking. Want to also increase their public speaking skill. There's nothing better than practice for that. They get feedback also, and I give them instructions, and I provide them with models so they can actually see. It's a TED Talk that I suggest to them, but they can see prior students from the prior years, some of the best ones. I lead them into that. Those are actually on our psychology webpage. Several of the good presentations from the past. So it's all what we call in behavioral skills training: modeling, instruction, practice, and constructive feedback. The other thing that you can get out of this sort of assignment of oral presentation of any sort, whether it's on video or live, is that they can learn more about their topic, whatever it is. And so my students all have to give a presentation about how to apply behavior modification principles to change some specific type of behavior. And so it's a different way to learn, and it's actually quite interesting for them because it is so different from listening to someone talk or from reading a textbook. Now they're doing something, and since most of them are putting it up on YouTube, they're doing something that could have importance. That's a nice way to learn. It's very, very rare. Unless you're doing a work experience, that you do something for learning that might have a positive effect on others. So those are the reasons why you might ever give a assignment to give an oral presentation. I used to have them do it in person, but once I stopped requiring students, the externals, to come to class, that became not feasible, so I shifted over to video presentations, which have been much, much better. What a great, if only I had thought of this years ago. I didn't until I was forced into it, because I didn't know how easy it would be for the students and how few problems I would encounter. Now, so if we switch over to why would you ever give an oral presentation assignment to why would you use video, that's what I mostly want to talk about. And there are a number of reasons for that. One is it saves class time. I don't know if you've ever done this where you have students giving presentations. It takes a lot of time, particularly if you let them use PowerPoint, because they're futzing with this and getting it up and down. It's very, very boring. It's boring for the instructor. It's boring for the students. And I can't get out of my memory somehow once watching a student give a 30-minute presentation. I was just there as a visitor for some reason, and she opened her laptop and she read in a monotone for 30 minutes, and I just wondered, how can I get out of here? Is there any way I can gracefully escape from this? And there wasn't. So that's why it's stuck in my mind, all that arousal that I want to get away from this. So it saves class time, and it saves really bad time often. Not that every presentation is poor, but they can be pretty poor. So it avoids dull times, and it saves you more class time to do other things that may be more useful for you compared to having them give a presentation in person. So
I'm going to talk from kind of two perspectives. I was a student of John's last year, so as the student perspective as well as a marker, so I was able to mark some assignments for the videos this term. So the first advantage is that distance students can actually do an oral presentation without having to come on campus. I was a distance student for my whole undergrad, and I hated public speaking. I had a very big fear of it, actually. So when I saw this assessment assigned by John last year, I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I don't know if I can actually do this, but it has given me a lot of skills participating in it. I was able to practice and rehearse, and I'm standing in front of you guys today, so it obviously did something. So that's one great advantage, that being a distance student, we were still able to do it, and we've gotten the skills that you would in an oral presentation, but it takes a bit of the anxiety away, I guess, because you're not standing in front of everyone and hope that it goes well that first time that you do it, whereas you have practice and are able to review it. Another advantage is that, like I was saying, that you can practice and you have unlimited practice to do it. So obviously you have your due date, but you can practice your recording. I know from memory when I did it, it took me about 4 hours for every 1 minute for my presentation. I think my presentation in the end was about 8 minutes. So it took me a long time. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and so I went through over and over. But it was really nice being able to objectively look at this recording that I did and say, oh, the lighting's not very good there, or I wasn't talking very slowly, or I was just able to review it and evaluate it straight away, which was a really useful tip and useful to do, rather than having to hope that I get it done properly the first time when I presented it at class. Another advantage is that you can present it from anywhere in the world. You can submit it obviously online or to Moodle, which means you don't have to come down. So I live in Brisbane, so it's about a 6-hour drive to get here. And so it's not very feasible for all students to make their way down to Armidale. So having it as a video recording is great. I know from being at residentials throughout my undergrad, I met people all over the world. And so having this online means that it's actually accessible to everyone, and it makes the course more feasible for everyone to actually participate and do. Another thing is that you learn about recording and uploading videos. I did not think that I would learn this skill from a psychology subject. I am not tech savvy in the slightest. I had to learn how to create a YouTube account. I had to learn how to record a video. I ended up getting very creative and putting slide changes in and headings throughout the presentation, so it was actually a lot of fun in the end. But that's a skill that I've been able to transfer into other assignments that I've done in my honours year and just outside of and into work, which is something that I didn't think that I would learn in a psychology degree. That's been very useful. Also, if you post it online, which majority of the students do, they post it on YouTube, it can be used on their CV or to seek employment. I know I've got it on my CV as a public service video. I did a video on how to quit smoking, and I've definitely gotten more opportunities since having it on my CV. It's something different that you don't usually have. If you think of a resume, you think of a 2-page document that has all your experience, which is great, but having that video means that they can see you in a professional manner, and they can see your face, and you're talking about something passionate, which sets you apart from other people, and I think it's helped me get a lot more opportunities and interviews actually in the past year since having it up. Another is that you can help people. I know I checked my video, I've had it up for about a year now, and I have 31 views, which is great. I'm no viral sensation, but it's definitely, it's nice to know that people may have watched this and gotten help out of it. So they may have learnt principles or about how to quit smoking, or they may have just gained some knowledge of how they can attack their smoking and how to quit. Obviously, John viewed it a couple of times to mark the presentation, and my grandparents were very proud, so they may have looked at it a couple of times, but I still may have helped someone, which is really a nice thought, and it's nice to know that it's out there and there is that possibility of helping someone. Another advantage is that you can submit it at home or anywhere at any time, which is great. I know that a lot of students that study nowadays have a lot of other responsibilities, whether it's work, children, or other commitments. So it's nice to be able to record rather than having to have a set date where you have to sit down and sit in the class, watch everyone else present. I know I have a daughter, so it was so nice to be able to do it at a time where I didn't have to worry about all these things, and it was flexible, which makes the course a lot more enjoyable when you don't have those time restraints on you. So the other advantages kind of come from the marker's perspective. So I know, like I said, I live in Brisbane, so it was a lot easier for me to mark assignments in Brisbane, having them as video presentations rather than coming down to Armidale, sitting and watching for hours all the students that had to present. It also meant that I had objective evidence to actually say, this is what you did great, this is maybe what you could improve, and I could always come back and review it if I needed to. So overall, there's many advantages, I think, that outweigh any issues that there may be. So I'd like to put you back to John to just discuss his view of assigning the assignments for the past 3 years and what he's experienced.
You are living proof of the value of this assignment, because she couldn't talk at all before. No, that's not true. All right, so we did some research after the first year, which was 3 years ago, because it was all brand new. I wanted to evaluate this new assignment. And I asked my students in behavior modification to fill out anonymously complete an online evaluation questionnaire of the assignment. And about a quarter of them did. I had about maybe 180 students, about 45 of them actually completed it. And I asked them various questions. Did carrying out the assignment help increase your confidence? Did it help you learn about the topic? Did it help you increase your public speaking skill? About, depending on the item, 70–80% of them 70–80% of them said yes. And I thought, well, that's pretty good endorsement. It's hard to help students learn, but most of them were benefiting from that. And then I also asked them, have you left it up? At that time, everybody had to put it up on YouTube, and I asked them, and again, it was somewhere between 70–80% had left it up. And the ones who didn't, they may have shown good judgment. Some of the videos are not good. I mean, these students are learning. That's why they're still university students. And so some are much better, some are naturals of this. For whatever reason, they're very, very good videos, and some aren't. So I took that as signs of approval that it all worked. But there were other signs besides the anonymous evaluations, because I dealt with students, and I've dealt with them over the 3 years, and there haven't been that many problems. There are occasionally technical problems, but not at a higher rate than, say, if we have a written assignment that they submit to Moodle. I have problems with those too. I mean, they're problems that I create. They're my mistakes. And forgetting to tell them submit on Word, and they submit PDF or things like that. So mistakes I make, the mistakes students make, and then Moodle creates some difficulties it has some oddities to it. So I see those on written assignments, but I also see them on the videos too. And so what kind of video problems? I haven't seen those this year, but some students would put it up and put it private only. So we couldn't see it without being authorized individually. So that would delay us. But I didn't see that this year. Sometimes they put it up and one student said, well, somebody removed it. I don't know, who removed it? So that was a mystery to me. And various other odd things can happen. But those are just a few percent as far as some sort of technical problem. Other problems, there doesn't seem to be much. We've marked them all successfully, marked them quickly. In fact, my markers much prefer to mark these over the papers because it's somehow more interesting, and they're very, very quick. They have to do a minimum of 3 minutes and a maximum of 10. I'm going to plan to change that to 8. We want to keep it short and sweet. And so the markers they're using a checklist, they can just go right through it, and 3 or 4 minutes in, they can have it done. Particularly this, I set a very low standard, basically. Yes, Ader?
How much does it weigh in your rules?
It's only 5%, so they don't have to actually do it. And the more phobic ones, they ask me, do I have to do this to pass? I say, no, but it would be good for you.
It's 5% optional.
It's, well, and, it's not compulsory or whatever the magic word is, so they don't have to do it. And that may somehow allow more students to take the unit, the truly phobic ones. Although since I'm teaching behavior modification, I tell them if this is a problem for you, why don't you do your project or not? They have to do a project on behavior change in themselves or someone else. Well, help starts at home. If you can't give a speech, talk it into a camera, then that's something to work on. Now, as it turns out, speaking of talking to a camera, this creates this about the same anxiety as talking to a group of people, which was interesting to me. They have the high anxiety to this because they know someone's going to look at it. And if you put it on YouTube, many people could look at it if they found it, but you're competing against millions, and that's what Tamika has run into. I bet there are hundreds or thousands of videos about how to quit smoking, and whoa. So the competition is stiff there. And I also found, as Tamika said, she was one of the good students, but there are many good students. They do take after take. Sometimes they do 40 or 50 takes to get it, and they have segments and do. That is a great way to learn. If you look at who's a professional athlete or any sort of professional performer, everybody uses video. Everybody uses video. So, and that's what we're using now. It's the top of the line for doing a self-evaluation. Plus they get comments from, we set a low standard for getting a perfect score. For one thing, I don't want them to get too excited. I don't want it to be too subjective. But we do make other comments about this and that. Some of it's to the technical quality, like, did you know a cat ran behind you? or you have, what else happened? You had
there was a couple
extraneous noise on yours.
Yeah, street noise, so you just tell them to maybe do it at a different time of day. Or
So we're teaching them how to make a movie, as it turns out, but we don't grade for that. But more importantly, we would tell them things like, it'd be good to smile. I mean, we've told them that in advance, and they're rating themselves. They all do a self-evaluation on about 15 items. And that's one of them. Did you ever smile? And did you speak loud enough? And different elements like that that are really quite important for doing it well. So what else? The marking with teaching assistants works very well. They're eager to do that, in part because it's fast and it's interesting to them. And as Tamika said, it's easy to do whenever you want, however much of it you want. I have actually put the link in for students. Some of the good students sometimes ask me for a letter of recommendation. They want to get transferred to the University of Sydney, or they want to get into a master's program or something like that. Occasionally for a job, I'll write them a letter. And I look at their video first. If it's on YouTube, if they submit it on Moodle, it's dead to the world then. So I tell them I wouldn't recommend that, but some of them do. But if it's on YouTube, where most of them are, I'll look at it, and if it looks good to me, I put a link in there and tell them the student did an outstanding video presentation you can look at, in case the student didn't do it. But I'm also basically confirming, yes, this was a good presentation. And I think Tamika is exactly right. For certain people, if they have the right presentation, the right appearance, for them to be seen can make a tremendous difference, can get them in the door for an interview where everybody's seen and interacted. But most people don't have that. It's just black and white. And so this gives them, I think, really a substantial advantage. And I asked someone who hires a lot of, these are four-year graduates, would that help? And she said, oh yes, we're doing all kinds of things. We look them up, before we ever invite them for an interview, we look them up on Facebook, we look them up here and there. And if they give us a link, we can actually look at them and get a feel for their interpersonal style and so on. So I thought, oh good, that's just what I hoped. All right, are we heated up? We're going to show you one of the videos. This was the best one that Tamika marked. Yeah. She thought, although there were some other very good ones. And this, you may know this student, is Freya Armitage. Does that ring a bell, Freya? Okay, good. She did it very well. We just need to wait a couple of minutes. You'll see it's a higher quality than most of the students because she really knew what she was doing about the production quality using iMovie. Anybody ever used iMovie? No, she said it's pretty easy to do things.
Social phobia is a common anxiety disorder that is characterized by a fear of embarrassment by one's own behavior in social situations, or a fear of scrutiny by others in social situations, such as making a speech, meeting new people, making phone calls, or going to a party. These situations may spark intense anxiety symptoms such as shortness of breath, a tightening chest, sweating, upset stomach, or shaking and feeling dizzy. You may worry about events for days, weeks, or even months before a social situation, or be overly self-conscious about what others think of you, which can lead to avoiding many social situations and not interacting, which can significantly disrupt people's lives. My name is Freya, and I'm a student studying psychology at the University of New England. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can overcome social phobia using behaviour modification principles. Behaviour modification analyses and modifies behaviour and has extensive research and clinical applications demonstrating its effectiveness in many areas, including phobias. Now, this video might be for you or someone you know, however, facing these situations can be really daunting. So I'm going to break down the process into easy and gradual steps. Step 1 is to conduct an assessment. Here we're going to write a list of situations or events that are anxiety-provoking. This might be eating in public or going to a party. For each situation, we're going to write down the thoughts that are associated with that situation. For example, everyone will think I'm stupid, or I won't have anything to say. We then want to find the consequences of those thoughts. How did you feel when you had those thoughts after? Did you experience a racing heart, shortness of breath, sweating, or a certain feeling towards that situation? Step 2 is to create a fear hierarchy. Once we have about 10 to 15 items in our list, we're going to rate them from least to most scary to create a fear hierarchy. We will use a rating system called the Subjective Units of Distress Scale, or SUD scale. A SUD scale is a rating system of 0 to 100 that measures our level of distress, with a rating of 0 being completely relaxed and happy to 100 being the most scared and anxious we've ever felt. We will assign a score to each of the items in our list and aim to get a range of low, medium, and high range scores. You want to make sure each step is a gradual step up from the next. We will use this SUD scale to measure our baseline rates of anxiety. However, we will continue to rate these items throughout the course of the intervention, as well as post-intervention, to track your progress. Step 3 is to create your goal. Once you've created your fear hierarchy, you're going to decide on what your goal is. This is going to be your catastrophic fear at the top of the hierarchy with a SUDS rating of 95 or 100. However, make sure you choose something that's measurable and something you can arrange to happen. It's good to choose something that you want to be able to do, and avoiding this behaviour may be impeding on your life in some way. This way you'll benefit from being able to engage in the behaviour.
So that's just a sample, so you get the idea of the videos that we mark.